religion, this isn't going to go the way you want it to.
Fake Christian?
I think you're a fake person. Yes, I do, Andrew. And I can give you examples as to why. Okay.
I thought so now we want to get personal, do we?
I think this is
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've stumbled across this video, and the tension here is off the charts. Andrew Wilson tells Brian Shapiro to stop interrupting. Brian gets increasingly frustrated, and then he throws out this wild hypothetical that completely backfires. Andrew stays calm the whole time while breaking down exactly why the argument doesn't work, and you can just see Brian losing his composure as the segment goes on. This is what happens when someone can't engage with the actual argument. So make sure you watch until the end, and please, comment down below where you're watching from. I really love to see people from all over the world connecting in here. Alright now, let's get into the video.
I don't care what your system comes from, or quite frankly, I don't care what your religion is. This is Andrew Wilson versus Brian Shapiro, my opinions versus yours. I'm not okay with anybody, let alone somebody who's running for president of the United States, crapping on somebody's military service and saying you don't respect somebody because they were captured. Oh yeah, by the way, Donald Trump dodged the military multiple times.
All right, hold on a second. I think Andrew's
microphone's
having trouble.
I think we're good. You guys can hear me okay.
Yep,
so
yes.
Brian,
yes.
Do you understand what granting a position means in a debate?
I absolutely do, and I'm not going to be talked down to.
So if I'm granting...
Okay,
if I'm granting no, Brian, shut up.
Brian, you just did a monologue for a while.
Stop spurging, Brian.
You asked me a question,
Brian, stop spurging, Brian.
You asked me a question.
Stop spurging, Brian. Stop spurging, Brian.
Don't ask me questions.
Brian, stop spurging out.
Then don't ask me a question.
Just listen to what I'm saying to you. You already answered the question. So the thing is like, if it is the case that I'm granting the position, what I would need from you is why it would actually be unethical if I give you this thing, which is the paramount to my ethical system. In this case, it would be abortion, 600,000 lives per year. Even if I granted the COVID thing, let's say that Trump killed 1 million people due to mishandling of COVID-19. Over the long term, there's still going to be way more aborted babies than any death toll Trump had during COVID. So if it's the case, you have to tell me again, Brian, what could possibly trump that for a Christian? What could trump that when I have a choice between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump? She's going to expand these rights for abortion, enshrine them into law, right? Thus killing way more from my worldview, people, human beings. What would ever trump that? Why would I have voted for her instead? Why? Can you tell me that or not?
Sure. A lot of different reasons why.
Okay, why?
Why I think Kamala Harris would have been a far better candidate. First of all, I don't believe we would have been headed towards a recession. I don't believe we would have had to deal with the tariffs. I don't believe Kamala Harris would have rolled out.
Would she have expanded abortion rights, Brian?
Andrew, it's my turn now, right?
Would she have expanded abortion rights?
Andrew, smoke a cigarette.
Can you answer the question? Would she have expanded abortion rights?
Andrew, you don't get to just ask a question.
Would she have expanded abortion rights, Brian?
Okay, so Andrew, you're supposed to be the master debater. That means let me.
I just want you to answer one
question. If we keep on going back and forth like this, we're going to need to do a cross-examination. So maybe 20 minutes each. Do you guys want to do that? 20 minutes each of cross-examination, or do you want to just answer each other's questions?
I would like to finish answering Andrew's question before he asks me another one. He asked me about Kamala Harris, right, Andrew? You asked me why should I have voted for her over Donald Trump?
No, that's not what I asked you.
He asked you why from his perspective.
Listen very closely to what I asked you so that you understand what I'm saying to you. From my Christian worldview, abortion is murder. It doesn't matter what you think, Brian. It matters in this case what I think. That's my worldview. That's my interpretation of the world. Okay, that's my ethical system. Yours is based on whatever Brian thinks. Right. So it's just as valid for me, I guess, to say whatever Andrew thinks.
Sure. Fine.
I consider each of these things. I consider each abortion a murder. I consider each abortion a murder. So if that's the case, there's 600,000 murders per year going on inside of this nation. Trump moved to overturn Roe v. Wade, thus moving the goal to cancel the idea of women being able to have abortions. Kamala Harris was going to expand this and enshrine it, meaning that over the long term, over many, many, many years, Kamala Harris, from my worldview, would have killed a drastically higher amount of people than anything you could ever pin on Trump, including COVID. If that's the case, what would be the compelling reason over that from a Christian worldview for why I should have voted for a woman who would expand that? That's my question.
So if it's going back to the abortion issue, which obviously we disagree upon, and you move the goalpost. As I said, millions of people died of COVID. And I think in part because of Donald Trump's lack of leadership during COVID. And your response to that was, well, more people would have died in the future from abortions. And you used the term murder. I fundamentally disagree with you on that issue. We've established that, Andrew. I disagree. I don't think abortion is murder. You do. And I don't care.
Can you just steel man my position so I know you know it? What is my position here?
Okay,
what's the question I actually asked you?
Okay, you think abortion is murder, clearly. And when you say that Kamala and Donald Trump stopped the killings of unborn babies, you're trying to ask me the question, from my perspective,
yes,
why should I have voted for Kamala Harris? My view. I completely disagree with your view, and here's why.
Okay, why?
I don't believe.
Oh, you don't believe?
Well, that's what this conversation is about, Andrew. We're not.
Well, I do believe, Brian. So where does that get us? I do believe, and you don't believe.
Andrew, calm down for a moment. These are my opinions and your opinions.
Okay.
You can laugh and be very condescending and be a jerk and have a conversation. Okay, Andrew, which is it going to be? You can either
I'm listening, Brian.
Okay.
I'm listening.
Hey, here's the difference, Andrew, between me and a lot of other people you debate. I don't tolerate condescension, okay, which is what you're doing right now. You're not better than me. Your religion isn't better than me. And quite
right from the start of this section, you can see exactly why maintaining control of a debate's framework is so important. And this is something I think a lot of people can learn from, whether you're having political discussions or just trying to make a point effectively in any context. When you're in a debate, there's a constant battle over whose framework gets used to evaluate the arguments. Andrew has established his framework, Christian ethics, with the protection of innocent life as the paramount concern. And every time the conversation tries to drift away from that framework, he brings it right back. Now, some people might watch this and think that's just being stubborn or repetitive, but it's actually smart debate strategy. If you let your opponent pull you into their framework, you're playing on their turf. You're accepting their assumptions. You're letting them set the rules for what counts as a good argument. The shotgunning tactic that's being used on the other side is a classic approach. Throw out a bunch of different accusations and criticisms rapid fire and hope that some of them stick. The problem is, this approach avoids having to actually defend any single point in depth. You just keep moving to the next thing before the previous thing can be properly examined. Andrew refuses to let that happen. He keeps bringing the conversation back to the same question. From my ethical framework, which values human life above all else, what could possibly be more important than supporting someone who has taken concrete action to protect that life? And here's the thing, that's a fair question that deserves a real answer. If you want to convince a pro-life Christian that they're wrong to support a particular candidate, you need to engage with their actual values. You need to show why something else should be prioritized higher than what they see as the protection of innocent lives. Simply listing other things you don't like about the candidate doesn't accomplish that. It just shows that you have different priorities, not that their priorities are wrong.
Frankly, I could care where your beliefs come from. Stop laughing, stop being a jerk, and we can have a respect.
Ryan, this is. Do you understand? Do you understand?
You keep
do you even
starting.
understand the ethical system?
Stop. You keep starting the sentence with, "Do you understand?"
Do you understand it?
Hold on a second.
Okay.
You like to make it sound like you're smarter than everybody else, and you're extremely condescending. Andrew, I have news for you. You're not. Your religion doesn't make you better than me. Your system doesn't make you better than me. Stop the laughing. Let's have a conversation and stop being a jerk.
All right.
Okay?
So I'm just going to quickly interrupt, guys. I just want to quickly say, so the debate prompt is obviously, is it ethical to support Donald Trump? And so we have to sort of pin on the other person why they are unethical for supporting Donald Trump based upon whatever ethical system. So Andrew has the Christian ethical system. Brian, you've got your own ethical system as well. And then the idea here is that we have to say why it's unethical for that person to support Donald Trump.
And so here's my argument. My argument is very simple, and it has not been refuted. It's not even being engaged with. It's a very simple argument. From my ethical purview, which Brian can't dispute, right? Because his is all preference-based. Therefore, my preferences should be just as valid as his. I believe that abortion is murder. Brian believes abortion is not murder. Okay, great. We've established that. But what we're trying to do is determine whether or not the other person is doing a thing which is unethical. In this particular case, he would need to give me a more convincing argument than 600,000 babies dead per year, and why I would support a candidate who would enshrine that as a right, as over the long term, this would create an insurmountable amount of death from my worldview of innocent lives. So until he can establish whatever that is, then the alternative of me supporting the candidate who is rolling back abortion and Roe v. Wade is the most ethical position from the Christian viewpoint. And
So
that's what I actually want him to contend with, and he just won't.
I want to respond to how ridiculous this is. So let me just explain. Andrew has made the hardline case that abortion is murder, which obviously we've established I disagree with. And because your claim of Donald Trump stopping 600,000 abortions and saving 600,000 lives, anything that Donald Trump says or does that doesn't rise to your definition of what abortion is to that level, then I'm defending my own position, and you can't beat me in this debate, is the most ridiculous. Let me tell you something. I've been doing this for like 20 years.
It's an argument from incredulity. I need an actual argument, Brian.
I have an actual argument, but you're
give
just
it to me.
You're going to hide behind your fake Christian religion. This isn't going to go the way you want it to.
Fake Christian?
I think you're a fake person. Yes, I do, Andrew, and I can give you examples as to why. Okay.
I thought so. Now we want to get personal. Do we?
I think this is a fake debate because you want to hide behind Christianity instead of just having.
That's my ethical system, Brian. That's my ethical system.
My ethical system tells me that I don't like fake people that hide behind their religion. That's my system. I got it from my
system says that you shouldn't hide behind your preferences. What are we established here?
My preferences are I don't put on a fake Christian cross and defend a liable sexual abuser and a 34 count felon and then hide behind your abortion argument. He can't do anything as bad as killing.
Can you give me an argument? Can you give me an argument?
Sure. I will give you an argument. Let's start with a very basic foundation.
Okay.
From a foreign affairs issue. So hopefully we can get off this abortion debate because quite frankly, it's tiresome. I understand.
We're not debating abortion. We're debating ethics.
Yeah. Well, your definition of abortion is a kill, and it's your basis behind your entire argument. And I can't believe you don't even understand.
That's the basis of my ethics, Brian.
Okay,
you haven't given me any standard for your ethics. You have given me no standard.
I've given you plenty of standards.
No, you just say because I believe it because I believe it. That's your whole standard. Brian believes what he believes because he believes it.
So is it unethical to cheat on your wife? Is that unethical?
From the Christian view, it is. Yes.
Okay. So that's maybe we can agree on that. I don't like Donald Trump's sexcapades. I think it sets a very bad example for the country when you're the leader of the free world. Is by your ethical standards.
Hang on. One point at a time. Let's start with this one.
Sure.
So we established that you and I both think cheating on your wife is unethical.
Yes.
Okay, great. So the thing is, though, is that would it make me unethical to vote for a man who cheated on his wife if he did a policy, right, which valued a higher kind of ethical authority that I have? So in this case, guy cheats on wife 3 times, but also stops 600,000 people from getting fucking aborted per year. Hang on, Brian. Hang on. Why would it then be unethical for me to support that man for president? That's what we keep getting back to because you won't engage with.
This is where we get to see a really desperate debate tactic. And I want to break down exactly why it fails so completely, because understanding this will help you recognize similar tactics in other political discussions. When you can't win an argument on its merits, one common approach is to construct an absurd hypothetical and then demand your opponent respond to it. The hypothetical about extreme criminal behavior is a perfect example of this. Here's why this fails as a debate tactic. First, it's a massive straw man. No one is arguing that any behavior should be excused because of one policy position. The actual argument is about the relative weight of real criticisms versus real policy positions, not fantasy scenarios. Second, it's an implicit admission that you can't win the argument with actual evidence. When you have to invent extreme scenarios to make your point, it's because the real-world facts don't support your position strongly enough. Third, it actually helps your opponent by letting them reject the absurd hypothetical and look reasonable doing it. Of course, no one would support a leader who committed those kinds of crimes. That's such an obvious answer that asking the question just wastes everyone's time. What's really happening here is an attempt to escape from a logical trap. The argument has been made that from a Christian ethical perspective, protecting innocent life is paramount. The response has been to list various character flaws and policy disagreements, but those responses haven't actually engaged with the core argument. So instead of finding something that actually outweighs the protection of innocent life within a Christian framework, the tactic shifts to making up something so extreme that no one could defend it. But that doesn't prove anything about the actual argument at hand. This is like arguing about whether vanilla or chocolate ice cream is better, and when you're losing, suddenly asking, but what if the chocolate had poison in it? Well, sure, poison chocolate would be bad, but that doesn't help us evaluate actual non-poison chocolate.
That argument, you want to engage with it.
We don't keep going back to that. You keep going back.
Because that's my argument, Brian. That's my argument.
Your entire argument, no matter what Donald Trump does. For example, let's just say Donald Trump molested a child on video. Would your defense be, well, he hasn't killed 600,000 babies? Now I'm asking you your standard here. If Donald Trump was seen on a camera, God forbid, if raping a child and then killing one child, would your defense be, well, I'm still supporting him because he saved 600,000 babies' lives and abortion is illegal in this many states? Would that be your defense?
And let me explain why. So from the ethical view, there can be things which I would consider trivial dalliances, meaning things which are forgivable. And then there would be things which I would consider to be or you could maybe forgive them from the Christian view, right? But it'd still at least be an immediate disqualifier from any support in the future.
I want to know.
Hang on, stop. Because the thing was so egregious and over the top in comparison to this other thing. From a strict utilitarian view, you could make the argument, of course, that yes, you would still support him 600K lives against that, but I'm not a utilitarian and I don't view ethics the same way as utilitarians do. So hang on. So what I'm going to say to you is like, is him cheating on his wife enough for me to not support him in comparison to abortion, where he has the potential to save 600,000 unborn people per year? The answer is, of course, I will do that over the opposition who would enshrine that into law. What choice would I have to make the ethical decision there, Brian? What other choice would I even have? I'm
trying to get to the bar where you put aside for a moment your take on abortion and 600,000 unborn babies. You made the case that you probably, I think this is what I got from your answer, you probably wouldn't support Donald Trump if right now he molested a child on video. Is that what if you did something which was so egregious rather than I want to know what that is. That's what I want to know. I want to know where that is, where you think it's so egregious. Andrew Wilson cannot support Donald Trump anymore. So it's molesting a child. Is that fair to say? Is that a fair assessment of your opinion? Yeah, I think if you rape kids, that would be a deal breaker for me altogether. Yes. Okay, fair enough. What if he was at one point the best friend of one of the biggest sex traffickers in the world? He bragged about grabbing women by the genitals. He admitted on camera to sexualizing his own daughter, saying, "Boy, I would date her." If these are moving into very trivial criticism. So trivial, trivial criticisms. You would have to demonstrate with evidence that Donald Trump ever raped anybody, which you can't do. Say rape, and you would have rape. No, I didn't. No, I said I didn't say he raped. Well, exactly. And you can't say with any evidence that he ever molested any children at all. So the thing is that these things within the purview to test the ethical system are fine, but you would need to give me an example now of something that's so egregious that he would do that I would not forgive whatever that trivial detail was in comparison, hang on, to this other very egregious detail of 600,000 dying per year from my view. Do you understand? Yeah, well, but Brian, remember, we're just talking about our opinions because you have no ethical system other than my opinion. But again, I just want to be very clear. It's your opinion that abortion is murder. Very different. And it's just your opinion that it's not, right? Right. Okay, so then we're on totally equal playing field here because you have no ethical system other than opinion. Okay, so first of all, to be clear, every single time I bring up a fact or something that Donald Trump has said or something that Donald Trump has done or something.
And now we arrive at what I think is the most important point of this entire section, and maybe the entire debate. It's the point that keeps getting made over and over because it still hasn't been addressed. The fundamental question is simple. What standard are you using to make these ethical claims? And despite nearly an hour of discussion at this point, we still don't have a clear answer. Think about how strange this is. Someone is making strong moral condemnations, calling people fake, accusing them of supporting horrible things, claiming moral superiority, and yet when asked to explain the basis for these moral claims, there's nothing but personal preference. This is actually a chronic problem in modern political discourse, and I think it's worth understanding why it matters. We've lost the ability to have meaningful ethical debates because we've lost any shared framework for ethics. Everyone has strong opinions about what's right and wrong, but almost no one can articulate why those things are right or wrong beyond "I feel like they are." Andrew's position may not be one you agree with. Christian ethics isn't for everyone, but at least it's a position. It's a coherent framework with internal logic. You can examine it, critique it, argue against it, but you're arguing against something real and substantial. What's being offered on the other side is essentially nothing, just vibes, just feelings, just preferences dressed up in moral language. And here's the key insight. When you have a coherent ethical framework and your opponent doesn't, you've already won the meta debate. Because even if people disagree with your conclusions, they can respect that you've thought it through. Meanwhile, your opponent is just expressing arbitrary likes and dislikes while pretending they have moral weight. The frustration you hear coming through in this exchange is the frustration of someone who expected to coast on moral assumptions and instead got asked to show their work. When you're used to debates where everyone accepts the same unstated premises, being asked to justify those premises feels unfair. But it's not unfair. It's just rigorous. Real ethical debate requires you to do more than just assert that things are bad. You have to explain why they're bad according to some framework that goes beyond your personal feelings. And if you can't do that, then you're not actually making an argument. You're just emoting. So what do you guys think of this? Leave your thoughts down in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.